This is Mars Blackman, and this is my main man, Michael Jordan. And this is a pair of tight Air Jordans from Nike. This is something you can buy. And this is a patented, vicious, high-flying 360 slam dunk. This is something you cannot do. Let me repeat myself. This you can buy. You cannot do this. Can. No!
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this podcast, we're going to talk about the cultural phenomenon that you know as the Air Jordan shoe, popularized by the great Michael Jeffrey Jordan. We're going to talk about some of our favorite memories of the shoe. We'll talk about some of our favorite editions of the Air Jordan shoe and much, much more. And I've got a special co-host, my man King Jerm from the almighty Frocast podcast. So you don't want to miss it. So sit tight, and after the break, we'll present to you a great conversation on Air Jordans. We'll be back in just a second. And just like that, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. And as I mentioned in the intro, we are talking about the one, the only, Air Jordans. So we're going to kind of kick around a whole bunch of stuff. And again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. And as I mentioned in the intro, got a special co-host. My co-host, man, he's no stranger to the show. He's been on here before. One half of the people, my peoples from Nappy Afro, the almighty Frocast podcast. My man, King Jerm, is in the building. King Jerm, what up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Kyle, man? How you doing, man? Glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Oh,
man.
No problem, man. Glad to have you back on, man. Before we get started, man, gotta give you a big shout out. You guys over at Frocast just celebrated, at the time of this recording, your 400th episode, man. How the hell did you get 400 episodes in, man?
Hey, man, I didn't think we'd ever get to this far. I mean, seeing the way that things went and how things was going, I was just like, one day this gonna end. But we made it 400 and we still rolling. So, hey, man, I appreciate it, bro. It's been cool, man. I enjoyed podcasting, man. I'd probably do it if nobody was listening, man.
No doubt. You guys definitely been at it for a long time, because I'm thinking about it. Like I hit 200 and I just, I've been in it for almost 5 years. So you guys have been at it a lot longer than that, man, and putting out dope content every single week. So definitely, before we get out of here, we'll tell people where they can catch you guys at the almighty Frocast podcast. But as I mentioned in the intro, man, I got you on. We're going to talk about Air Jordans. Obviously, at the time of this recording, the Air Jordan and Michael Jordan is being celebrated in particular as they are airing the documentary on ESPN, The Last Dance, which chronicles Michael Jordan's career, also specifically looking at the final run of the Chicago Bulls 1997-98 season. But we're going to talk more so about the shoe. The Air Jordan shoe. We're going to get into it, like some of the things that we liked about the shoe and some of the controversy and everything that goes along with it. So I guess we should start right there, Jerm. What's your first memory of Air Jordans?
Oh, man. My first memory was, okay, you remember back in the day when you used to go to grandma's house and all your cousins would come there.
Yes.
And you got that one particular cousin that always stun on you. Well, my cousin Marcus came through with the red and black Jordan 1s on. And I was just so jealous, because I was just like, man, he always gets stuff. I was just like, God. So, I was just talking to my mom, and I was like, Mom, man, please get me these shoes. Please get me. I was just begging, you know what I'm saying, after that, that weekend. So one day my mom, she was just like, come on, let's go for a ride. I had been begging her for these shoes, and then we pulled up to Blumenthal's department store, And we was in Blumenthal. She was, looking at some jeans, and I seen let me tell you how country this was. They sold Jordans in Blumenthal's department store. Blumenthal's is one of them stores. It's downtown. You might go there and get you a Carhartt jacket,
Okay.
blue jeans. I mean, it was just like a department store. It wasn't, nothing named big brand. But I saw the darn Jordans in there, and they were like $59.99. And I went to my mama. I was like, Mama, they got the Jordans in here. They're $59.99. My mama said, $59. She was like, 59? Are you crazy? And I was just like, please, I promise I'll be good if you give me these shoes and this, and that. And I don't know what. And she was like, no, you're not getting them. So I just went and sat in the car. I was angry. My mama come walking to that car, man. I saw that bag with them Jordans in it, man. Hey, look, I almost was about to say, look, I'm a big kid from now on, because this was, I was that close to commit my life to being a good kid, but it fed the beast. But yeah, that's my most memorable Jordan story. Like the first one's the one I got, the red, white, and black ones, and I never forget. My cousin beat my ass because I took one of his shoes, a red and black one. I took one of my red, white, and black ones, and I wore them one day, and he caught me in his shoe. Oh my gosh. Had to wear a whoop.
That's okay. So how much older was your cousin than you?
Oh, he was about 4 years older than me. So you know what I'm saying. So yeah. So it was a nice solid one. He gave me a nice one. He thumped me up good for that one. But wow. I was fresh that day. You couldn't tell me anything. So
you had the red and black joint, and you had the red, white, and black joint on the other foot. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because like you said, $59.99. So we're talking, this is what, 84, 85, right around that time?
Yeah, about 85,
okay,
around there.
Okay, so let's just say 85. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, in 1985, that's a lot of money.
Heck yeah.
That's a lot of money. Particularly if you ain't got it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. They like 50 for some shoes? For some shoes?
Yes, for some shoes, for some sneakers that you just gonna dog out. At least your mom thought you were gonna dog out. How long? I'm curious. How long did you keep those J's, man?
Oh man, I know I kept them for at least 2 years now. Wow. Back then, 2 years for a kid, I was probably about 8 years old. So that was pretty good. Now, did I dog them out? Of course. Mm-hmm. Of course. They turned into my everyday shoes. I was just back then, you didn't switch up shoes like the kids do today. You didn't have 10, 12 pair of shoes unless, you were that guy. But most of the time you had a good 3 solid pair of shoes. They're probably a white pair of Reeboks, a black pair of Reeboks, and you might have a Jordan or something in there. But they're basically what you had.
That's true. You didn't have a lot of shoes, and you had to figure out, you had to, at the very least, you had some shoes you wore to school, and then you had some shoes that you played in outside, and you could never play outside in your school shoes. So if your Jordans were your school shoes, you damn sure ain't wearing them outside to play in them. That's for sure. Man, my first memory of the Jordans probably was, really from Mike, to be honest. I remember Jordan in college. Obviously, Jordan. And it's weird because I remember growing up in South Carolina, we watched a lot of ACC basketball. And,
had no choice.
Exactly. Yeah, you had no choice. Jefferson Pilot Sports.
Every
Saturday. So we got a chance to see all kind of ACC action. And I remember Jordan as a freshman, before he hit the shot against Georgetown, they actually called him Mike Jordan. He wasn't Michael. He was Mike. They listed him in the program as Mike, and they called him on TV as Mike. And he was nice, but he wasn't – he didn't really – at least to me, he didn't really stand out. The star on the team was James Worthy. And I remember begging my mom actually to stay up and watch that national championship game that they had against Georgetown. And obviously, like I said, Mike hit the shot. And, I followed his career at Carolina. And then when he came into the league, I remember reading in Sports Illustrated that he was getting his own shoe. And because my parents, one of the treats I got as a kid was that my parents actually ordered Sports Illustrated, the magazine, for me. So it was my magazine. So I read it, and that was one of my prized possessions, getting my weekly Sports Illustrated. And I remember reading it because I would read Sports Illustrated from cover to cover. And I remember reading that there was going to be a shoe coming out for Michael Jordan called the Air Jordan. And at the time, to my knowledge, there were no other basketball players that had their own signature shoe with their name on it. You know what I'm saying? Converse had most of the athletes in the NBA. They had Jordan. They had Magic. They had Bird. They had, yeah, exactly. I think they had Isaiah too. So, all of the stars, were pretty much with Converse. And, Nike was a company that really wasn't, funny to say, but Nike wasn't popular back then at all. So, they take a chance on Jordan. And anyway, so make long story short, so my first introduction of the shoe was, actually seeing them on his feet. And I remember, there was some hoopla about the red and black shoe, not the red, white, and black shoe, but the red and black shoe. It was called the Airship. The first shoe that he wore was called the Airship, and that the Airship was there for him to wear prior to him wearing the Air Jordan 1s. And when he put the shoe on, it was red and black, and it didn't have much white in it. And legend has it that the shoes were thrown out of the game, and there was actually a commercial that Nike aired saying that the shoe was banned.
On September 15th, Nike created a revolutionary new basketball shoe. On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game. Fortunately, the NBA can't stop you from wearing them. Air Jordans from Nike.
And those are my first memories of seeing that commercial, seeing Jordan in those shoes, in the AJ1s, and getting the word that the shoes were banned from the NBA. And, I think it's been some people that have gone on to at least try to prove that he never wore the red and black joints in an NBA game at all. He wore the red, black, and white ones. But that was my first introduction of Jordan in the shoes, man. And I remember seeing him as a rookie at the All-Star game. It was the All-Star game in Indianapolis. And that was the All-Star game where he was in the dunk contest and he had the tight gold chains, and he actually dunked in those shoes. So he did not play a game in the red and black Air Jordan 1s, but he did participate in the slam dunk contest in those, and just really kind of took off from there, seeing a guy, that I'd followed his career up until that point, being a hotshot rookie, and he has his own signature shoes. It was really impressive, man. My next question for you: why do you think those shoes were so popular when we were growing up?
Oh man, because Michael Jordan was like, he was cool. I mean, then with, like you said, the shoes being banned, them being expensive, there was like a status symbol. It was just like, if you saw a basketball player, like we used to have this Little Four tournament around Christmas time in our city, and one team, would come and they were all like, the whole team would have the Jordans on, whatever Jordans came out that year, and it just made them, I don't know why, it just made them look better, and I don't understand why, but it was just something about the Jordan, man. I don't know, maybe because it was hip. We saw it in rap music videos, and I mean, it just changed America. Like it was something different. It was something different. Like these new guys, like their shoe drops will never be like the Jordan was. I mean, people was dying over Jordans. Like I remember a point in time when my mom was like, "No, you can't get the Jordans this year. Why? Because people getting killed for them." And I was just like, "What?" I mean, it never crossed my mind that somebody could kill me for my shoes, but I saw it on the news. You know what I'm saying? You see it, kid ride for his Jordans and a starter jacket. So my mom was like, "No, you're not getting a starter jacket and Jordan this year." And I was just like, "Cause people dying. They in Detroit, mama. Like what like, like mama, they're not here. Like, you know what I'm saying?" So yeah, so I don't know why the popularity, but I mean, it was crazy, man. Like Jordan was cool, like the posters, the jump man, the tongue out, and like, Jordan was the man. Like he was the man.
No doubt. You touched on a couple of points, man. I think it's one of the things that I remember about the popularity was, for one, like you said, they were expensive. Right. And so anytime you make something expensive, it's going to be, somewhat of a status symbol. You mentioned that earlier. And it's like, so it was the thing to have. So when you saw somebody with Jordans on, at least for me, I assumed that they had money.
Exactly.
I assumed that they had at least some money. Maybe they had more than me, but they had enough at least to buy the Jordans.
Especially if they were playing basketball in the new Jordans, you'd be like, dude, you just at the court in Jordans? You'd be like, wow. You just
yeah. If you were actually wearing them on the court, and I thought something was really special about you, because most of the time when we would see kids in Jordans, they were just, they were wearing them, but, it wasn't to play basketball in. In fact, it wasn't until I got a little bit older where I saw kids actually playing in the Jordans, because normally it was just a chill sneaker that you would just wear. You wear it to school, or you wear it to the dance, or whatever the case may be, wherever you were going, to the mall. But you rarely saw kids actually playing ball, organized ball in the Jordans. Another reason why I think it was as popular, obviously, because Michael Jordan came in at a time where, the landscape of the NBA had, it was changing. I tell people all the time, like, I started watching the NBA in 1980. That was right around the time where Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came into the NBA. But I remember sitting down on Sunday afternoons watching NBA games, and the games were on tape delay. Like, you could, if you watched your local evening news, you would see what the score was between the Lakers and the Hawks, and then the game would come on, like, maybe if it didn't come on if it didn't come on live in the afternoon, you'd see it like that night at like 10 o'clock. So if you watched your local sports show or your sports segment of your local news, you would find out what the score was, and then you kind of decide whether or not you want to sit and watch this game that you already know the ending to. And so the NBA games were on tape delay. Drug use was pretty rampant in the NBA. Yeah, it was. It was. People don't talk about it, but it was pretty. I mean, like, you had teams that were just like, and it's well documented, that were on cocaine and just drunks and all kind of stuff. The 80s was wild, man. But
what you talking about?
But Magic came into the league and Bird came into the league, and they basically kind of saved the league, and that rivalry came, and the NBA kind of marketed it and packaged things around it. But Jordan was different, and so here it was this guy who wasn't he wasn't the shooter that Bird was, or he wasn't the Showtime guy that Magic was, but he was the shooter and the Showtime guy, and he had flair, and he had, like you said, he looked cool, he walked cool, he sounded cool when he talked. And you saw him at the thing. He think about it, he's this rookie in 1984. He's got these gold chains. He showed up to the All-Star game in his own gear. He participated in the dunk contest in his own shoes and in Air Jordan gear, not in the Chicago Bulls gear, but like everybody else. So Jordan he was somebody who was groundbreaking, and somebody who, it was, like you said, it was just the timing of it all was just perfect. And he had a bald, well, he didn't initially have a bald head, but he had hair, and then when his hair went out, he cut his head bald, and he made it look cool to have a bald head and have an earring. And I guess I probably should also say this, he was pretty good on the basketball court.
Yeah.
That had a lot to do with it. I mean, you wanted to literally be like Mike, because he was flashy, and he was scoring and dunking and everything like that, and you couldn't stop him. I mean, like, for as great of a basketball player Michael Jordan was in the 90s, where he won his championships, you go back and watch Mike in the 80s, he was cold. I mean, like, he was even colder, because the jumper wasn't always there, but he would take it to the lane, and he would dunk on you, and I mean, he brought everything. He brought it on the offensive end and defensive end. I mean, he was just an all-around player. But I think that's one of the reasons why, the shoes were as popular, because of obviously his success. If Jordan scored, 4 points a game, then, the Air Jordan shoe probably doesn't,
Yeah, it flops.
Yeah, it flops. It doesn't do a damn thing. And, obviously, and like you mentioned, Jerm, the shoes being banned, that made a huge effect on people and why they wanted to get them. Because anytime you tell somebody that something is banned, they want it even more.
And the 80s were all about rebellion, like, the rock and all that and everything. So yeah, it was like you said, it was a perfect storm. Yeah. And Nike capitalized on it, because it was like he shot his own commercials on accident. Like the Like Mike commercials after the finals, like they were basically just taking stuff he did in the game and made a whole commercial up out of it. And it was just like he wasn't purposely doing this, but it was perfect. Like the game 2 when he did the little when he went up the right and switched it to the left, and basketball court, everybody was trying to do that move, man. It was like everybody at the court the next day was like, man, you see the move Jordan did last night? Oh man, everybody trying to do that move. And it was, I mean, that's why when I first this whole thing was born, because I wanted to challenge 12 Cal with a Jordan versus LeBron, but then I started watching The Last Dance, and it brought back, it's just been a while since I seen Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I seen Jordan, I said, I can't have this debate, man. Jordan was a killer, man. He was a killer. Like, he was a killer. Like, that man was cold-blooded. And I was just like, it's not even fair, because it's 2 different games now. You know what I'm saying? But Jordan they don't make them like that no more, man. They don't make them like that no more. Like that, man. Golly, bro. Like he was. You're
right. They don't. They just don't. And it's no knock on any other player. And I while I would have, if we had, I would have. It's not even fair to LeBron to have that debate. And so, when you threw the idea, I was like, well, hey, we could debate about it. I was like, but really ain't much to say. But it's and LeBron or any other player, Kobe, rest in peace. They can't help the time in which they were born. And like I said, for Jordan, it was a perfect storm. Just to add some context to what we're talking about for those of you listening, Nike had only expected to sell 100,000 pairs of the original shoe the first year, and the shoe was, I think, for retailing for $65. They shipped 1.5 million in the first 6 weeks. So that in and of itself tells about how it took off. Now, of course, Jerm, you mentioned there was some negativity that came along with it. I distinctly remember, as I mentioned earlier, I got Sports Illustrated each week. And on May 14th, 1990, there was a cover on Sports Illustrated. There was a picture of a hand, and it's holding the Air Jordan 5. And there's a gun in the other hand, and it says your sneakers or your life.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, and it talked about, it was written by Rick Tellender, great writer for Sports Illustrated, and it talked about how in American cities kids were killing each other over sneakers and sports apparel, and it just talked about who was to blame, and Jordan, he obviously was not expecting this. But I think I remember the article started off by talking about a 15-year-old kid in Maryland who was found strangled by one of his buddies, his 17-year-old buddy who was, who stole his shoes and strangled him and left him for dead left him barefoot in a wooded area. And Jordan, to his credit, he said, quote, I thought people would try to emulate the good things that I do. They try to achieve and to do better, nothing bad. I never thought because of my endorsement or a shoe or any product that people would harm each other, close quote. So you said that, you never really thought about it, but what do you remember about that time about people getting hurt and getting killed and getting jacked for the shoes?
Well, once my mother kind of put that in retrospect of like why I'm not getting it, I kind of started paying attention because I wanted some ammo to be like, look, nobody's getting hurt behind these shoes, Mama. I can get them. But then once the reports started coming out and she's looking at me with the "see, I told you," what I'm saying, I kind of like, oh man, well, she right. Like I don't need the shoes this year. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get them that year. But I would be damned. I said, I'm getting them next year. I said, I don't, man, I sit this one out, but I gotta get them. You know what I'm saying? Because it was crazy.
Did that make you fearful at all by what she said? I mean, because again, we didn't have social media, so when she said it, you had to take her for a word.
I had to take it for a word. Then, of course, you got the hood rumor. We had the internet back then. It just wasn't fiber optics. It was just people, telling, stories from, oh man, my cousin from New York, he said, the stories, the nigga internet, the nigga net. We had that back in the day. So, you hear stories from that, and it kind of, make you very, I'm not gonna say fearful, but when I got him, I was kind of scared. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll be honest, man. One time, my son, this was like one of them drops. It might have been the Space Jams or something like that. And my wife dropped him off at the mall by himself with the money for his shoes. And that day, the Wolves were out because they didn't have enough shoes that day. And I told her, I was like, yo, don't ever do that again on drop day. Because I told him, I said, he called me. He was like, Dad, can somebody come pick me up? And I was just like, what do you mean come pick you up? I thought you were with your mom. He was like, oh, no, I'm waiting on her. So I called her to see where she at. Oh, I'll be there in like 30 minutes. I said, oh, no. I got my young son walking around the mall looking like food with a pair of Jordans by himself. I told him to go hide in Macy's dressing room until I called him and to come out.
That was smart, though.
Yeah, because I was just like, I told her, I was like, no, you can't do that because, he was young. He was probably about 12 or 13 then. And I was just like, man, nah, bro. Like, somebody rob him, take his little stuff, because he's talking about somebody already offered me $500 for it. I said, yeah, you would never saw that $500. That's the bait. That was bait. You know what I'm saying? So
they would have thrown him in that dressing room and hauled ass.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember because I did not get any when I was that young, like when they first came out. So I can't, when this article came out, again, it was 1990, May of 1990. So, and it's kind of bugged out to believe it's been 30 years since that article came out. I did not remember ever being fearful about it, and I don't know of anybody like from my hometown that ever got beat up or got jacked for their shoes. Probably because we lived in a small place. I mean, Florence, South Carolina is not a big place, so if somebody stole your Jordans, you would know who stole them. Yeah, you're gonna say like, all you gotta do is just lay low because they're gonna appear again. So, but I remember reading that story in Sports Illustrated and just being kind of dumbfounded, like, why would somebody want to hurt somebody else about some Jordans? Because it didn't register to me that someone could hurt somebody for a pair of shoes. To me, I was like, it ain't that serious, and it really wasn't. But, it was unfortunate that, across the country, kids were definitely losing their lives. And again, Jordan and Nike had to speak out about it. And it goes, if you want to look deeper into it, it goes into, just some of the social and economic strifes and things that we had to deal with in that time, and for some of us still dealing with at this point. So, but yeah, it was definitely some wild times in the 80s. I tell you what. No, go ahead.
I won't interrupt. But you remember how now Jordans come out, they sold out in 15 minutes. It didn't used to be like, you could go get Jordans at any time you wanted Jordans. Like, you didn't have to get the Jordans when they dropped the first day. Your mom might not get paid the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You might have the Jordans 4 months after they dropped, and it's another colorway out, but you still got the first. But they was always available. Like, it was never like this, like where they sell out in 15 minutes. You ain't there on Saturday, you're not getting the Jordans. But back then, you could get Jordans at any time.
Well, I think part of it is too, and it's been kind of Nike's MO, and it's almost like the gift and the curse. They make it to the point where it's almost a level of exclusivity. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we're only going to ship 1,000 of these. So if you're one of the 1,000, and I'm using 1,000 just as an example, but if you're one of 1,000 people, like let's say if your local Foot Locker is only going to get 20 shoes, then yeah, you're dope if you're one of the first people in line to get those shoes. However, it also makes you a target because that ain't no more of those shoes coming. So if you don't, if you cop those shoes, you, like you said, like your son, you better hide or do something because there's a chance that somebody probably will run up on you to get them. or at least try to, they're going to try to buy them from you first, and then they may jack you for them. So you're right about that. And I think that's something that Nike has done. And I don't necessarily, I understand from a business perspective why they've done it like that, because it does make it, people want to be, the exclusive owners of it. But I think it has also driven up and it also drives the price too.
Oh yes.
Because if you have a limited amount, trust me, you're gonna pay more for them. I tell you what, this is a great place to take a quick commercial. We'll hear from Jordan and Spike Lee in the commercial. One of my favorite commercials, where Spike Lee is talking to as Morris Blackman, the character Morris Blackman, and he's hanging and he's trying to block Jordan's dunk. And on the other side, we'll break some more things down with regards to the Air Jordan shoe. Got my man King Jerm in the building. Sit tight. We'll be back in just a second.
Do you know who the best player in the game is? Me, Morris Blackman. And I'm way above the rim, demonstrating some serious hang time. Very serious. Do you know how I get up for my game? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? That's right. Air Jordan, Air Jordan, Air Jordan. Mike, what's up? Oh, money. Why you want to do that to me? Why you leave me hanging? Come on. I got it. Oh, Mike, man. That's so bad. Mars Blackman here again. You know, nobody in the world could cover my main man, Michael Jordan. Nobody. Nobody. I'm telling you, it's impossible. Impossible.
However, it's easy to cover Morris Blackman.
And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy 12 Kyle. This is the 12 Kyle podcast, and I got my man King Jerm from the Frocast podcast on. We're talking about Air Jordans. As I mentioned before the break, we were going to come back and chop it up some more about the Air Jordans. So let's get into it, man. I got to ask you, what were your favorite pair of Jordans that were made? Two-part question. What were your favorite Jordans that were made? And what's your favorite pair that you've actually owned?
Okay, my favorite pair that were made. Okay, I'm conflicted because the fours, the white and gray, the white and cement fours, the black and cement fours, the black sixes with the the long tongue. They used to have a little thing for your shoes on there. Those was my favorites. And the 11s, the patent leather 11s, the white and black ones. Those are like my three favorite Jordans. And I had the black ones, because I'm telling you, funny story about the black ones.
Go ahead.
So I started school. My mom, she had the money that year. I think it was 6th grade. She didn't have the money that year, so I had to wear my summer shoes on the first day of school. I was fucking upset. You know what I'm saying? So I made it through most of the whole day till one day. I mean, it was later on the day. This kid was like, Jerm's still rocking the shoes he had on this summer. And you know what I'm saying? I was like,
yeah. You couldn't do that.
so you know what I'm saying? And I was just sitting here like, dang, bro. Like, I just knew I was going to make it through this day. I was going to be all right. So I hit my grandma up. She's like, how school was? I was like, it was terrible. I told her what happened. She was like, hold on real quick. I'll be out there in a minute. So grandma come pick me up. You know what I'm saying? We go to the mall. See, at that time we had a Flight 23 store in our town. So, we went to the mall. And, you know what I'm saying? She bought me the fours, the black fours, and she got me the flight suit. So that next day I went to school. I had the flight suit on and my Jordans. Couldn't tell me nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Got about the 4th, 5th period. This girl stepped on my shoes on purpose. And I said, and I was like, B, what you do that for? And she said, what you call me? I said, B, you heard me? Because I was feeling myself that day. Let me tell you, this girl laid to smack it down. She hit me so hard. Bow! It was like one of them tomboy girls. So she hit me, and I looked over at my homeboy. He's sitting there with his little hand like, ooh. So anyway, I ended up getting a fight with the girl. What? Man, listen, Kyle, man. Listen, man. I whooped her ass, bro. Like I just went like, cause it was like I was embarrassed. But you know, I was 11. I'm not proud of it. She was a tomboy. If that makes you feel any better, she was a tomboy, and but she had an older brother in the 10th grade, and I was terrified for about 6 weeks that this man was gonna run me down and fine me for beating up on his sister. But luckily, we never crossed paths. But I did get suspended, and that was my Jordan 4 story. So yeah, those are why the 4s are like my favorite, because it's just a long story behind those. So I'm gonna go with the 4.
So she stepped on your joints on purpose.
She was hating. She didn't want to see your kids shine. She couldn't take it.
Damn. And you had the white 4s?
And I had the black ones.
Okay. Still. It was
yeah.
Principality.
I was heavy on the NWA, so you know that B word just kind of just like it flew out. You know what I'm saying? So. But I'm telling you, when she hit me though, I'm telling you, man, she rocked me, man. I ain't gonna front, man. She hit me, and I was kind of stunned for a second, because I was like, dog, boy, like she hit me.
Damn, Jerm caught a smackdown over the Jays. Wow. Okay, so what's your favorite pair that you've that were made?
And
you can pick more than one too.
Okay, like I said, the 4, 6, and 11, the black ones.
Okay.
And I'm a funny thing about me. I don't like any of the new colorways. Like I only like the original colorways. So I don't get up for the new colorways. No, as an adult, if I'm about rebuy the ones that I had when I was a child, I'm gonna buy the original colorways. I don't want all the weird colored Jordans. I don't do that. I don't do it. So if it ain't the OG, I don't like it. I do own the 4s and the 6s now. I want to get the 11s because every time they come out, I could never get them, and I don't do the resale because they want like $390 and $400, and I'm just like, I'm not paying that much for no shoes that you paid $200 for, buddy. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm sorry.
Oh, no doubt. I totally feel you on that. I'm there's only a couple that I could probably see myself rocking, like the Jordan 1s. You know, I've seen them in like, let's say green and black, like that Celtic green and black.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of green, shirts and stuff, so I'm trying to picture like what I would wear with it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not really, like you said, we just didn't come up in an era where you bought like shoes for a particular outfit. Like you had a black shoe, you had a white shoe, you had something maybe in the middle. You might have a blue shoe. So I'm not really big on all of the colors and stuff like that, but I totally get where you're coming from. Let me see, my favorite pair that were ever made. I'd probably say the 3s, the 4s, and the 11s, Space Jam joints.
Tough.
Yeah, the pair that I've owned, I got a pair of 4s now, white 4s. I want the black 4s. But I'm just being cheap about it. Like you said, I don't want to pay it. But the black 4s, like I can't find the black 4s in my size no less than like $300.
Let me ask you, you got one of the common sizes, the 9 to 10 and a half people?
Yeah.
Oh, God bless you, sir. Cause look, good luck, man. Cause
it's a struggle, man. It's a struggle.
Because it's like everybody wear that size. You fighting with everybody from kids to like 10 years old to adults. Like everybody's in that little That's why I'm like, man, I feel bad for the 9 to the 11 people. Like, man, that is tough.
Man.
Like,
and it's messed up because like I got a homeboy. I ain't gonna say his name. I'm gonna just say his name is Reggie because he's coming up on an upcoming podcast. And Reggie he wears like a kid's 7.
Jeez.
He's got it's weird because it's like he's probably about 5'9", 5'10", but he got mad small feet. Like he wears a kid's shoe. Like it's funny to see a grown ass man in some little kid Timberlands. But like he'll get Jordans, he get the kiddie prices. So I always be clowning him about that because he got mad. I don't know what happened to his feet. His feet are mad small. But it's how it is with Jays, man. You just you got to bite the bullet and just be like, fuck it, I'm going to get it. You know what I'm saying? So it's because here's the thing. The price ain't going to change.
Nope. It might get higher. It might get higher. Like they only want you lucky they only want 200 for some now, 220. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So I mean, I go to my little websites and the price ain't changed. The price hadn't changed over the last 6 months, and I keep going to the little website hoping that it'll go down. It ain't going down. It ain't hardly going down. So at some point, probably in the next month or two, I'm gonna go ahead and cop the black fours.
I mean, look, they got the little, you can make payments on them now. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, ain't gonna be no you know what it is, man. I'm frugal. That's all it is. I could order them right now, man. I'm just frugal. I don't like to use the word cheap. I'm frugal. So
I say economically inclined.
There you go. So you know, I can order them right now. Just lazy. That's all it is. Just lazy. So yeah, I got a pair of fours. I've had, what else did I have? I had the 13s and I had the 14s. But yeah, so I want to go back and I do want to get the also the threes. I want to get the cement threes in black and white. I think once I get those, if I can get those,
So them cements is hard to beat, bro. Like there's just something about it, man. It's just woo.
Yeah. Once I get those, I think I'll be done. And that's the funny thing. It's like you tell yourself, okay, well, all right, I'm gonna get these and I'm done. I ain't buying no more sneakers. Shit.
Hey, I mean, I told my wife last year, I was like, listen, I'm going to be irresponsible. Like I told her, I was supposed to get 3 pair of Jordans last year. I was supposed to get the black and red 11s, the black 6s, and the black 4s. Because last year they had all the black and red shoes came out last year. So I was like, yes, I'm getting on them. But I only got 2 of the 3. But, you know, I like the 5s that just came out this past weekend. I like those, but if they would have been the black ones now, I ain't gonna front.
Yeah.
I would have jumped on it. But the white ones, I was like, I'm gonna let you slide. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I ain't really, you know, they fire now, but I just wouldn't. They weren't fire enough to make me jump out there because this is white shoes. I just don't like. You know, I can't wear white shoes, bro.
And it's hard to keep them clean. And I distinctly remember the 5s when they came out. They were really, really, I mean, of course they were Jordan, so, you know, everybody was lining up to get them. But when they came with, I think they dropped the 5s, and I'm pretty sure the whites came out first. And then when they came with the blacks, everybody wanted them things, man. And they didn't have that many out there. But it was really, really crazy.
Because he used to do like the white, red, and black ones around Christmas time. And it'd be like a Carolina color one around about February or something, or a Charlotte Hornet color, something like that. That little color, the purple and teal. And then the black ones will come out like around Easter. That's just how he drop them, you know. Yeah, you know, that Jordan, man. Woof.
I know, right? And as much as I say I'm not going to give Jordan another Porsche to put in his driveway, it's just, you know, and I don't even really fancy myself as a sneakerhead, but it's just like you said, I'm willing to buy the shoes that I wore growing up because I just remember how they made me feel and how they looked on my feet, you know, more importantly.
Yes.
And I think that's very key for any young man. It's just, you know, your footwear really sets, you know, your gear. And, you know, like, to be honest, when a woman is looking at a man, you know, she's going to look at his shoes. She's going to look to see what he got on his feet. So, you know, that was something that was really, really big for us in the 80s and 90s coming up as we, you know, kind of got into our own style and fashion as well. Other than the fight, do you have another favorite Jordan story, either for yourself or maybe somebody else that you know that just kind of resonates with a particular shoe or shoes?
Other than the fight.
Yeah, other than the fight.
Oh, well, okay. I'm gonna tell you this: the first pair of Jordans that I bought myself with my own money, like it was the Jordan 9s. And it was a weird color because the money was burning my pockets. So it was the Jordan 9s. They were like this olive green color, and it was a weird color. But I had them, like I got $100 for Christmas, and I was just like, you know what? I'm buying some Jordans. And, you know, I could have waited a little while longer and got the black ones, but I was so bent that day on going to get some Jordans. I said, look, I said, nobody got these. Of course, it was an ugly ass color. You know what I'm saying? And so it was $132, and I was just like, man. And this was in about 90. It was whenever the Jordan 9s came out. So if the 5s came out in 91, or the 6s, no, 5s was 90.
I'm looking at that now. The 9s came out in 93.
93. Okay, so this is 93. So I bought it with my own money, and I felt so accomplished that day. But I never. But that day I also realized how fast $100 went, because I was just like, whoa! I just had $100 and it's gone already. Like, it was just like on a pair of shoes, and that I think that kind of started me being like what you call them people that buy something and they have guilt?
Yeah,
what you call
buyer's remorse.
Oh, yeah, I'm one of those
very
people.
Much so.
I'm one of those people, and I think it started that day right there. Buyer's remorse, because I bought plenty of shoes and didn't make it out the mall with them, and went back and took them back. Like, yes, changed my mind. I changed my mind. Like that's why I've never had a pair of Timberlands. I bought like 3 pair of Timberlands, but I ain't never make it out the mall with a pair of Timberlands, man, because I was just like, I'm never gonna wear these boots.
I still got a pair of Timbs.
I want a pair now. I want a pair. I was gifted a pair one time. Now I wore those, you know what I'm saying, because they were like hiking boots, but I like those. But as far as like the construction Timbs with the never had a pair. I want one though, because they look so fresh. Like, it's just something about the Timbs, man.
Okay, now I gotta ask you, and this is something that every man, and I'm gonna go back and answer the question, but I gotta pivot just for a second, just because of something you just said, and be careful how you answer this question, because I don't want to get you in trouble.
Oh, man, you good?
All right, so have you ever had a pair of Jordans purchased for you by someone else that wasn't your mom or grandma?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it was the Jordan, it was the ones that had like the turtleneck on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I told her straight up, I said, these shoes ugly. I said, please don't. I said, take them back. I said, take them back. I don't want them. And she was like, what? I said, these are new Jordans. I said, I don't care. They're ugly. I said, what is this, a mock neck? I said, what is these? I said, what is this on this shoe? So yeah. I told her to take them back. So yes.
Okay. Yeah, I always ask all the fellas that, I might be one of the few people who have never had a pair purchased for me from someone else other than my parents. I had an offer once, but I was like, nah, because I just knew there was more coming with the if she would have
loaded off. It was a loaded offer.
and she was crazy.
I think that's what I felt, the same thing, because I was just like, man, because I didn't really like the girl like that. And I was like, you bought me these shoes, and I was just like, I don't feel right taking this from you, and I don't really like you. So I was just like, and it didn't help that they were ugly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you
it would have been like,
it was it the 15?
15.
Oh, ooh,
yeah, it was like the white. It was like the white and dark navy blue ones or something like that. It was some weird color, man. I was just like, these shoes are horrible.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now. They're not the move.
Yeah, they got like a turtleneck. Like, I mean, you can tell. Look, you can tell when Michael Jordan started putting more input on the shoes. It started around 13, 14. You know what I'm saying? Then 15. Like, it was just like, Michael, where are you going with this? You remember the one that looked like a sock that rolled all the way up your leg?
Yep.
Like Michael. Like, listen, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, people. I don't recognize any Jordan past 13. Like, I'm halfway gear to 14, but that's it. Other than that, I don't recognize a Jordan. Like, you can't tell me. Like, I mean, that year he had a suitcase with some Jordans. I was like, man. Now,
I remember that.
I got look. I bought them only because they was on sale. Like, them shoes was like $200. Like, it was some ridiculous price. And I remember me and King Jerm was together then. And I had left my wallet in North Carolina, and I was just like, man, we was on the trip. We went to Georgia. And so I was like, man, I left my wallet. And I was just like, well, we got this deal on these shoes, like $125. So I was like, I got to get these shoes. And the dude giving me the suitcase, I was just like, man.
Jerm, I'm looking at I'm on the Jordan website, and I'm looking at these shoes, man. I'm with you, bro. After about 14, that was it. There's not one pair of Jordans past 14 that I would actually wear.
I mean, them things were hideous. Like, you could tell when Michael Jordan started like putting his too much input in, because like 14s was like, oh, well, this is inspired by Ferrari, and I'm just like, what? Like, what does that mean?
And it's funny because I actually have to answer the question. I actually have a story about it. I may have touched on it on this podcast or some other podcast, but I'm pretty sure it was this podcast. Well, I talked about how we had a scheme going when I was in college. What we would do was, me and my man Mo, we would take we would have sneakers, and we take like a pin, and what you do is you take the pin, and at the sharp point of the pin, you take it and you puncture a hole in the air bubble in a shoe. And Nikes, all the Nikes we wore had air bubbles in them. Well, you do that, and then you call Nike and say, okay, well, give me to the, I can't remember what department it was, but packaging department, whatever case may be. And you say, okay, well, hey, Nike, I have a defective shoe product. They say, well, what's wrong? You say, I think the air bubble burst. And then say, oh, okay, well, we'll send you a label. They send a label to you. You get the label. You box the shoes up, send them back, and then they have to, take them in for an inspection. And what they would do is they said, okay, well, if we found that your shoe product is defective, we will send you back either that shoe or a comparable shoe in the price. And so Jerm, we had this scheme going, man. We stayed with mad sneakers, and like Nike never caught on, right? And I mean, I could talk about it now. The statute of limitations is long gone. And so, and I don't know that necessarily we were doing anything illegal, but anyway.
No, he wasn't.
So, and I mean, we college kids. I mean, what are we supposed to do?
Exactly.
So I sent a pair back, and I think I sent like some Air Flights. And when they sent back because what they're supposed to do is send back a shoe that's comparable in price. So if you send a shoe that's worth $120, they're going to send you back a shoe and they never send back the shoe that you sent. Because by the time they do all of that stuff, and this process usually takes about 6 weeks, they would never send the same shoe. So you would always get a brand new shoe, and it's usually an upgrade from the shoe that you had. So anyway, long story short, I sent like some Air Flights that probably were worth maybe $120. At the time, the Jordans were worth about $160, and they sent back the black Air Jordan 14s, the Ferrari joints, the ones that, although you're listening, those are the ones that Jordan wore in his last games when he hit the big shot against Utah in the finals to win his 6th championship. So I'm geeked up. I'm like pumped up and excited. I'm like, man, I got the 14s. I got them for free, so I'm like, okay, let me put them on. And I put them on, and I just, I put them on. I just kind of walked around the room. They looked dope on my shoe, on my foot and everything. And then I think something happened or whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm going to wear them to class. And I called my boy Mo, and I told him, I said, yo, I got the J's. And he's like, what? He couldn't believe, because like we would always get new shoes, but we never got J's. And so, man, I wore them to class, Jerm, and my feet were on fire. I had to check the shoe to make sure that the size. I was like, wait a minute, I know it's a 9.5. What the hell? I mean, Jerm, the more, and we're in college, so there's a lot of walking. I mean, like, and it was bugged out because people were complimenting me on the Jordans, and my feet were killing me.
You grimacing, you just like, yeah, man, yeah, man.
I don't know. And so I got left out of class
right now.
Man, after I left out of class, I strung them up again. I tried to loosen them up, and I was like, okay, I'm telling myself, okay, I just got to break them in. I'll be okay. And I mean, like, you ever seen a woman walk into the club and shoes hurting her, or she leaving the club at night, and shoes hurting her feet? Man, I was like that day, and I was like, okay, well, so I tried to string them up again, and I wore them the next day, and it was worse the even next day. I was like, bruh, I hated those, man. I ended up boxing those shoes up and giving them away. I gave them to, I can't remember if I gave them to my boy Mo or if I gave them to somebody else, but I gave the shoes away. I didn't even want them. Those were the worst shoes I've ever put on my feet. And I was like, man, and Jordan's my guy, but I was mad as hell at Jordan for that. I was like, how could you dare? How dare you put out a shoe like that? My feet were on fire, Jerm. On fire. Man. That's like one of my favorite. Even though it's a bad story, it's one of my favorite Jordan stories, man. That shoe, I mean, killed my feet. And it's not like I don't have big feet like, it's not like I wear a 14 or something like that. But it just, Nah, bro.
Cut so narrow, man. Like the ones with the came in the suitcase. Those were some narrow J's, boy. Like to a concert one night, man. I was just like, please, God, let's hurry up and get home. I'm talking about, man. It was just. It felt like my foot somebody had chopped the darn top of my all my toes off. I felt like Tom Dempsey or whatever that kicker name was.
That's him.
My foot, it just was numb, man. I was just like, bro, I cannot feel my toes. Please let me. As soon as I got in the car, I took my shoes off, and I was just like the lady. I was just like, oh God. I took them off, man. I was just like, man, I didn't know what. I tried to buy a stretcher for them shoes, everything, because I was just like, them things are just cut narrow, man, and. I just I gotta have the old school Jordans, man, because they were fine. But the new ones, man, they too narrow. Like the LeBron shoes, I can't even get my foot in the LeBron shoes. I'm like, bro, what? I said, what is this? I was like, what in the world? Like, so man, no.
And see, that's the scary proposition for us because now, most of us we're buying the shoes online. So, you don't want to pay $200-$300 for some shoes and. Even though we know the size of our foot, every shoe kind of fits differently. And like if you buy, just example for those of you listening, if you buy a Nike running shoe, the shoe might be, if you wear a 9.5, you might need to get a 9 because they run maybe a little smaller. If you buy, like you said, a bulkier shoe like a LeBron shoe, you might need to go a half a size up because maybe they're a little bit narrow and you don't want them snug on your foot like that. So it just depends. And like you said, it's the last thing you want to do is to invest in some shoes and they're killing your corns. That's the last thing you want to happen. For sure, yes. For sure. Man, before we get out of here, Jerm, man, tell the people where they can catch you and the missus on the Frocast podcast, man.
Well, man, if you're in the podcast, which I think you are because you're listening to a dope one right here, man, you come check us out on Fridays. It's called the Frocast. We're on all the DSPs out there, man. So if you're looking for us, look for the Frocast, man. If you want to hear two married people, think of us as the Black Homer and Marge, but Marge got a job and Homer got a job. But I'm not as stupid as Homer, and she's not as domesticated as Marge. But we opposites. But just check it out, man. Just check it out.
Man, you guys, and if you follow my podcast, I've shouted them out the last couple of years. They make my Friday. One of the funniest podcasts you will hear. Even though they're married, they're two people who are friends, and then they don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff.
A lot of things, no.
But it's so comical, and it's good to hear what we back home in South Carolina call good down home folk. So yeah, make sure that you check out the podcast. Got to thank everybody for listening to this podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you download, subscribe. This podcast can be found, the 12 Kyle podcast can be found on all podcast readers where podcasts are free. So that's going to do it for us. A conversation about the Air Jordans. Make sure that you check out, you can go to you can go to Jordan.com if you want to cop some kicks. You probably won't find a whole lot on there, but you can look different places if you want to buy some shoes. But I'm not here to advertise because they ain't paying me. Nonetheless, for my man King Jerm, I'm your boy 12 Kyle. Thanks again for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.